Today we're going to be looking at a video that I have not seen very much of yet. The title is not that interesting, it's just, does God exist? But the thumbnail I find to be irresistible clickbait. My flawless theory. That has everything I'm looking for. I like to respond to people who are presenting at least what they think are their own novel thoughts, not just presenting someone else's argument. And I like it even better when they're arrogant about it.
So, the other day, I was thinking about what I should do a video on. And if you're a loyal viewer, you'd know that I'm sort of struggling for views right now, but that's obvious, expected. There's so much competition in YouTube. I thought, what can I do to entice people, get people in?
Oh, so the thumbnail really is meant to be clickbait? What about the topic then? Is it something you're actually interested in, or are you just trying to get people to watch? I'm not even judging you if that's what it is, it's just that that's kind of a weird choice of topic and a weird choice of presentation if that's your goal. People with cheap cameras sitting in their cars arguing about whether God exists is not really a big seller on YouTube these days.
What's that one topic that everyone's got a view on, and it's quite interesting too?
Well, let's see. When am I publishing this? Sometime around mid to late November, probably. Well, judging from how 2020's gone so far up till the end of October when I'm recording this, the new relevant topic is probably reviewing radiation suits off Amazon, seeing which one stands up the best in the new irradiated wasteland of November.
Bingo. That's why I came up with this. So welcome to this video. Yeah.
Well, that's got me excited.
Now, I'm quite passionate in my views. And that one question that everyone wants to know the answer to, I feel I have a pretty solid argument for.
Okay, see, I have a fairly long history of dealing with people's arguments for this on this channel, and I don't know what it is, but every time they come right out and say, I have a real good argument for this. This is my argument that I came up with from my own brain. It usually, for some reason, ends up being among the most incoherent nonsense arguments I've ever heard. Don't ask me why, it's just a trend I've noticed. For example, remember this video, or this video? So I'm not saying anything, I don't know what your argument is, but I'm hoping for the best.
That answer is for the eternal mystery, the most controversial and divisive topic out there, the $1 million question.
It's too bad this is going to come out after the US election, for obvious reasons. Oh well, would have been a real lame joke anyway.
Does the big man up there, does he exist? Is God real?
Yeah, I think by now we pretty much all figured that out. Let's get on with it, okay?
Well, let's crack on.
Okay.
A big argument for those that say he is real, just say, well, someone had to create the universe, and why are we all here? Who put us here? You can't just come together naturally, surely.
Yeah, which boils down to basically... But
then the logical and most favoured argument, most people probably agree with this nowadays, of course everything used to be religion-based, so only recently has the science explanations come into play. And that logical argument, if it gets away with that, is the Big Bang Theory.
Okay, I find it weird to label the Big Bang Theory a logical argument, I guess, against the existence of God, or for why we're all here, or whatever you think it's an argument for. When someone says they have a logical argument for God, against God, I usually think of like a couple few premises and a conclusion, not just an entire scientific theory.
So, this Big Bang Theory, well, its believers, they reckon it's just a massive collision of all the gases and atmospheric pressures and everything that just existed floating about.
Is that so? Okay, I'm starting to feel like I should have watched a bit more of this video before I started. After hearing that, it's possible this one might not be worth my time. Although it's not that much less accurate than how the rabbi described the Big Bang, so... Okay, we'll keep going. We'll see where this goes.
But I don't know if I don't know enough about it, which is probably the case.
Nah, come on. You... said the name right.
But what were all these gases and that doing? Where were they? Where'd they come from?
Oh, you lot of gases, what are you doing over there? Where'd you come from then? You got a license for that universe, mate?
What were all these gases and that doing? Where were they? Where'd they come from?
No one knows who they were or what they were doing, but their legacy remains.
Because surely they were in the universe to exist themselves. it doesn't really add up.
Yeah, fishy, innit? What were those gases doing hanging around outside of a universe? Gases like to live in a universe. They're risking not existing themselves. What's out there that could possibly be worth that?
I don't know.
You don't say.
But with this Big Bang, what's weird is it obviously started that big, which is quite funny.
Haha.
It started small, and say it's an explosion, which is probably the case, since that's what a Big Bang normally is.
Well, like I said, at least you got the name right. And from the sounds of it, that's the only thing you've heard about it.
That explosion would bang, pop, and then slow down and stop, maybe even then shrink, because that pressure has just stopped and it might get smaller. But this Big Bang, the universe, is expanding but gets quicker as time goes on, it just doesn't make any logic.
It doesn't make any logic that things appear not to work the way that you randomly, intuitively think they maybe. Okay, that's 2 strikes so far on you using the word logic in a way that makes any sense.
Which is baffling to scientists and everything.
What baffled the scientists when they figured that out was that it was an unexpected observation that wasn't explained by their current version of their theory, which happens all the time. That's part of science. It's not really something unusual.
It's an odd one,
I guess, but it is a universe we're talking about. It's kind of outside our everyday experience. It's unlikely that we'll figure everything about it out just like that.
Anyhow.
I agree. Let's move on. I don't think this is going anywhere anyway.
In the early 1800s, a couple of 100 years ago, one of the philosophers that is a big player in this argument, he came up with what's known as the design argument.
Okay, so now you're talking about the watchmaker thing. But I was under the impression, and maybe I was just too optimistic, that this video was going to have your arguments. But so far all you've said is some people make this argument, some people make that argument. Where's yours?
Very famous, and it's for God being real. There must be, this is what he says. And that is because...
Do me a favor, would you? Go into squirrel mode for this one. Nobody needs to hear the long version of the watchmaker analogy, especially since you haven't even made it clear yet that's the argument you're going with.
He says if you're wandering about in a forest or a desert or whatever, and you stumbled across a watch lying on the floor,
okay,
you'd obviously, without a doubt, assume, oh, someone's obviously been here, dropped their watch, and didn't realise they dropped it. And he says to the people listening to him, reading his book or whatever, he says... this watch has many specific components and little pieces.
Okay, come on, pick it up.
The metal all aligned and placed in a certain way that's specific to making that watch run as it should.
Okay.
Making a second-hand tick every second and everything. It's just too complex for it to just come together naturally.
All right.
And, yeah, I can totally see that logic. I mean, surely not when it comes together naturally. I mean, it's a watch that's so complex and difficult to just put together that something intelligent and superior must have thought...
Still taking too long. Go faster. Great. Sounds good, man. 100%. Cool story, bro. If I found this argument lying on the ground, I'd stomp on it. Can you go faster, please?
But I do think it makes us chuck in that logical question, like...
Hey, your normal speed again. Does that mean it's over? Oh, there really is a god. Wait, logical question? What do you think the logical question is? I'm just on the verge of calling strike 3 here.
I know God, the idea of a God does seem a little bit unrealistic, especially as science moves forward. But it does make you think, could this all really just been through luck and evolution and all that?
Could it have been through luck? Well, nobody said anything about luck. I made you squirrel voice your way through it, but you got talking about the Goldilocks zone and that kind of stuff. You know, how is this place so hospitable to our kind of life? Well, because life is only going to flourish where it's hospitable. Where the hell else would it be? If it can't flourish or even get started in the first place, it's just not going to start there. And if it can, then maybe it will. That's not luck, that's just how I would expect it to work. If it was any other way than that, with life flourishing where it can't, it would be bizarre, wouldn't it? And could it all have been through evolution? Yeah, at least the diversity of life part. And just to be clear, because you seem to be kind of pairing luck with evolution as if they have something in common, evolution is not luck. It's not like throwing a die over and over and over again and expecting a specific result at the end. Oh wow, I just realized that was supposed to be the logical question, wasn't it? Okay, strike 3. The strikes don't mean anything. I don't know why I'm doing that. You're still in.
I mean, surely there's someone up there just sorting us out.
My flawless theory. Well, it just seems weird for everything to come around through luck, so I don't know, surely there must be someone up there sorting us out. Yeah, fine. Sure.
It's just such a long shot that it's just come together perfectly.
Perfectly? Look, stuff is as it is. It's not like we're at some perfect endpoint of the development of the universe. What would that even mean? Sure, things are a way they could be. Even if there were no processes such as evolution that drive change in particular ways, that select and filter and cause emergent patterns by ordinary mindless means, even if it was just like rolling a die 1 trillion times, it's not like at the start of the universe someone called the outcome. It's not as if we were shooting for that specific pattern of 1 trillion dice rolls, and then everyone goes, yeah, it all came together perfectly. It all went according to plan. We got all the species we wanted, and all the stars that we wanted, and all the planets that we wanted. No, there's no we, there's no plan. That's a theistic understanding of the universe. There's no perfect outcome. There's just the outcome, or an outcome. And if you roll 1 trillion times, you're going to get an outcome. Not one you're likely to call accurately in advance, but who's doing that? But again, that's ignoring all the forces and processes that make certain types of outcomes more likely than others. Gravity, natural selection, those kind of things. Right? Like, it's not random chance versus God. That is not the argument that's being had. That's just the creationist straw man of the scientific understanding of the world.
Naturally, that's why this geezer's argument is so famous and so world-renowned, because he's got a point, doesn't he? He really does.
Paley, with the watchmaker analogy, he did have a point, and it wasn't even necessarily a terrible point from the perspective of his time. I mean, okay, in the sense that it just sort of assumes that there's no other possible explanation for the universe, and that somehow the universe itself is analogous to a watch, that you can just look at it and say, oh, it's designed, which you really can't. You have no information about where it came from. You've never seen anyone make one. You don't know of anyone making one. The only reason you would have that idea in your head is if you had a theistic starting point in the first place, or at least a deistic one. So just assuming that the universe was made, even though it looks nothing like anything else you've ever seen made, and is frankly still kind of beyond human comprehension, is intellectually questionable. So I don't really mean he had a point. What I mean is that from the perspective of someone 250 years ago, I think that's about when he would have written about this, I can see why people would find it compelling. But you have to understand the differences in knowledge between now and then. This was before Darwin. There was no understanding of biological evolution, no understanding that there were actual physical processes driving the diversification of life. It's been only about 100 years that people even knew that there were galaxies outside of our own. In Paley's time, we did not have the technology to be observing things like stellar birth and death, the expansion of the universe, DNA. Nowadays, we know so much more about how the world works and how the world comes to be how it is. The processes underlying everything that we see around us. The fact that things don't just exist as they are, but they come to be through physical processes. Even extremely complex things. I mean, our modern understanding of geology and biology, genetics, chemistry, and on and on and on. The work that's been done since Paley's death shows us the world working in ways that Paley never would have dreamt of. We're at the point where we have explanations of pretty much everything Paley would have been thinking of when he came up with his analogy that range from almost certain down to at least highly plausible. If he had access to our modern scientific understanding, I don't even know if he would have come up with his analogy in the first place. And to any questions about where stuff came from, how stuff works, that maybe Paley wasn't thinking of, but we are today, well, scientifically, we are to the people of the future what Paley is to us. Look at the last 200 years and then think about the next two. Give it some time. Jumping to conclusions that God has to fit in the gaps, it doesn't seem to work out that well long term. Alright, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I just scanned through, and at the end you summarize your amazing flawless theory. And I really want to touch on that before I go, and I really don't want to do a part 2 of this. Just not worth it.
So anyway, I've been thinking, what is my theory on God? Does he exist? Does he not? This was the moment you've been waiting for. What ticks all the boxes, or as many boxes as possible, and what has the least flaws? So, I think there is a God. I think there is a God.
Never would have guessed.
Now, I think God created the universe. I don't believe in the Big Bang. I think it's it's an easy way out for all these clever scientists.
You don't even know what the Big Bang is beyond the name. Of course you don't believe in it. You don't know a damn thing about what it even is. Maybe next time you want to start slinging insults at people about a concept, which is not something I mind at all, you should at least start by trying to have some idea what the concept is. Kind of remove some of the impact when you obviously have no idea what you're talking about.
I think God created the universe. Don't know why, don't know how, don't know anything about him. I can't answer that. Don't have all the answers. Not Jesus.
Okay, so just, God, because, I don't know.
Yeah, I think God created the universe, and then everything that's come out of the universe, whether it's been the expansion of it, all the planets, galaxies, us, everything in it, that's just come about for evolution.
Well, then what the hell was your rambling on and on and on about the watchmaker analogy and then saying the guy had a point? In fact, the watchmaker thing is the only argument you presented for God. And you were talking about, like, Earth being in the Goldilocks zone, and man, I sure am glad that we found the right planet, Earth, and we don't have to live on the water planet. I skipped that part because I wanted to get here, but here it is because it's funny.
There's trillions of planets out there. There's so many. I mean, there's one made of pure diamond. There's one that's just a big sea filled with water. Wouldn't want to be on that. There's like just a desert. I mean, Mars is like that. It's just a desert, isn't it? There's tons of planets that have meteors that would kill us all, landing on their planet every minute. I mean, one's at minus 200 odd degrees Celsius. It's crazy, isn't it? But again, makes you think how lucky we are to have found the right one, the habitable one.
We found the right one. Just found it. We could have ended up evolving on the uninhabitable pure diamond planet. Good thing that didn't happen. Lucky we stumbled across Earth. But now you say you think that everything in the universe, the expansion of the universe, the planets, the galaxies, us, everything in the universe came about through evolution, which flies directly in the face of the watchmaker argument, which is your only argument for God, apparently. But you still believe in God because who knows what. Great.
Because Charles Darwin proved evolution, and it's very, well, it sort of proves it. It proved to me. I think it's proof.
I should just be happy that you say you at least accept evolution, but I have a creeping suspicion that you might have no idea what that is either.
But anyway, we can all agree that evolution is real, I'm sure.
Oh, that's a big assumption on YouTube.
And you just think, well, actually, that ticks everything. It makes everyone happy. The scientists, evolution, they're happy because I'm saying evolution's real. Everything come about through evolution. But you just got to think, does the Big Bang Theory really make sense? Not to me.
So it makes everyone happy. The young Earth creationists are going to be happy that you say evolution's true. The scientists are going to be happy that you say the Big Bang isn't true. The atheists are going to be happy that you say God's real. I don't know why you think this makes everyone happy, and to be honest, I don't know why you care. Why would that even be a consideration in your understanding of how the world works and how it came to be? Reality doesn't give a shit who's happy.
So I've balanced two. I think that's right.
The right answer is not just the answer in between two opposing answers. Just because you balance it doesn't mean anything, and I don't even know if you balanced anything here.
So your job is spread the word, spread this video.
Oh, yes, boss. Mission accomplished, sir.
I think I've got the nail on the head there, haven't I?
Oh, sure. Why not?
I mean, if you can think of a better theory, if you've got something new, comment below, because I want to hear it. Or if you've got a flaw with mine, I want to hear it.
It'd be quicker to list the bits that aren't flawed.
Because I think, I mean, bit of a long shot again, but you never know. Why not? Why couldn't that be real? God created the universe, everything after that is evolution. I don't think God interferes with anything in our lives, like fate or our destiny and all that.
Yeah, you're talking about deism, which is fine, roughly speaking, except that your reason is that apparently it makes everybody happy, which, considering that this is far from a new idea, you'd think would have happened by now. I mean, at least most of the people who argue about religion and God and that kind of stuff have heard of deism, but for some reason, most of them aren't convinced. But hey, now your video's out there, so things might start changing.
What do you think about that? Good, isn't it?
It's fantastic, man. Best argument ever. Great use of my time. Not a disappointment at all.
Maybe more on this. I've enjoyed doing a bit of research on does God exist?
Oh, say no more. All you had to do was go to my Discord. There's a long-standing feature over there that would have made your job a lot easier. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. If you would, before you go, please give the video a like and subscribe. Huge thanks to anyone who supports the channel on any platform, and I'll see you next time.